This video is proudly sponsored by Gamersgate. Download games anytime, anywhere. Visit Gamersgate.com.
Developed by the creators of Dear Esther, The Chinese Room, and published by the makers of Amnesia, The Dark Descent, and the Penumbra series, Amnesia: A Machine for Pigs is the most recent horror title to hit the PC marketplace. Wait for the sun to go down, turn off the lights, and put those headphones on. It's time to squeal like a little pig. Not long after launching A Machine for Pigs for the first time, gamers will find themselves playing with their mouths agape, muttering to themselves about the strange and unnerving sounds coming from around them, and cursing the warped things the game has to show. Disembodied footsteps and whispery voices play tricks with the players. Objects that move or disappear when looking the other way will put gamers on their guard. It is a horror experience through and through, but it does divert slightly from the typical Penumbra and Amnesia game formula. Set in 1800s London, players need to explore an empty mansion and the adjacent meat processing factory in search of missing children. As the game progresses, you figure out exactly who you are, why your children are missing, and what is so sinister about your setting. Gamers solve minor environmental puzzles and avoid being torn to shreds by the unholy monsters that roam the halls. Without any weapons, the only way to overcome your enemies is to sneak past them in the darkness. This time around, players no longer need to worry about finding fuel for their light source. The lamp can be used as often as necessary, but it does have the drawback that it gives away the player's location. The lamp and other lights in the game have a passive secondary function by acting as a sort of monster detector. Lights everywhere will flicker more erratically the closer the player gets to an enemy. Players also don't need to worry about health items because health regenerates. Sanity is no longer something that needs to be monitored, so you can stare as long as you'd like at your pursuers from your hiding place, and it will never give away your position. The environmental puzzles were too easy. We often solved puzzles before we even knew what the problem was in the first place. Key puzzle items are often found in blatantly obvious places. There were a couple that had us scratching our noodles for a few moments, but they were few and far between. We also wish there were a few more chase or hide-and-seek thrill moments with the monsters, but aside from those negative criticisms, A Machine for Pigs is legitimately frightening, and that's why we play horror games in the first place. To get scared. It's clear the Chinese Room put a good deal of effort into crafting their environment and telling their story, both of which are an improvement for the series. It's fascinating to look at the unique paintings, illustrations, and stained glass windows made specifically to fit right into their intended time and place. Also, the sound design is a gigantic improvement. Sound was never a real problem for frictional games, but the sound design in A Machine for Pigs is downright superb. The booms and creaks will have you jumping almost as much as the visuals. The haunting noises will stick with you long after you've turned the game off. The music choices are spot on as well. While it's not as heart-stopping as the original Amnesia, and it misses some signature key elements of prior frictional games, there are still plenty of scares and creep-outs to be had within A Machine for Pigs. We love it, but we wish we loved it more. It's still a great game, and it's an example as to why the survival horror genre is still legitimate and necessary. The Chinese Room's first official dip into the horror realm can easily be considered a success. Anyone in the mood for a good scare can safely pick this one up, especially for its budget price. In its entirety, it took us about 4 hours to run its gauntlet, which feels just about right for the asking price. Going into Machine for Pigs, expect to be scared by the sights and sounds, wowed by the audio design, but don't get your hopes up for much of a challenge. Most gamers will walk away with a newly found, and hopefully temporary, fear of barnyard animals and British children.